Chapter 8, Bud Not Buddy, by Christopher Paul Curtis. Part 3. Me Bugs, a little white boy, and a little girl loaded a whole mess of dirty tin cans and spoons and a couple of real plates and forks into a big wooden box and lugged them down to Thread Creek. The little girl had been in Hooverville the longest, so she got to tell the rest of us what to do. She said, "I don't suppose neither of you new boys knows how to do the dishes the right way, do you?" "Me and Bugs done tons of dishes in the home," I said. "Sure we do. We used to be real good at cleaning up." Bugs said, "Dang, girl, you act like this is the first cardboard jungle I've been in. I know how you do dishes out here." She said, "Okay then, we'll split them up. You and you," she pointed at Bugs, "and the other kid can do half, and me and this boy can do the others. What's your name?" I said, "Bud Not Buddy." She said, "I'm Deza Malone." Deza handed Bugs and the other little boy some rags and some soap powder, and they started splashing the dishes in the water. Me and the girl walked a little farther up the creek and started unloading the rest of the dishes. "You dry, I'll wash," she said. She handed me a rag, and just as soon as she splashed one of the tin cans in the water and give it to me, I'd dry it and stick it in the wooden box. She said, "Where you say you was from?" "Flint, right here." "So you and your friend come down here to get on that train tomorrow?" "Where's it going?" "Chicago," she said. "Is that west from here?" "Uh-huh." "Then, yup, that's where we're heading," I said. "Where you from?" "Lancaster, Pennsylvania." "You going to take the train, too?" She said, "Uh-huh. My daddy is. Folks say there's work out west, so he's going to try again." "So you're going to wait here for him?" "Uh-huh." She was real fast at washing the dishes, but I noticed she got kind of slow and was touching my hand a lot when it came to giving them to me. She said, "Where's your mama and daddy?" "My mother died 4 years ago." "Sorry to hear that." "It's okay. She didn't suffer or nothing." "So where's your daddy?" "I think he lives in Grand Rapids. I never met him." "Sorry to hear that." "Shucks, she held right on to my hand when she said that, too. I squirmed my hand loose and said, 'That's okay, too.'" Deza said, "No, it's not, and you should quit pretending that it is." "Who said I'm pretending anything?" "I know you are. My daddy says families are the most important thing there is. That's why me and my mama are going to wait together for him to come back or write for us to come to him." I said, "My mother said the same thing, that families should time. She always used to tell me that no matter where I went or what I did, that she'd be there for me, even if she wasn't somewhere that I could see her. She told me," "Shucks, there's some folks who'll have you running your mouth before you know what you're doing." I quit talking and acted like I was having a real hard time drying the tin can she'd just handed me. "What'd she tell you, Bud?" I looked at Des Malone and figured I'd never see her again in my life, so I kept shooting off my mouth. She would tell me every night before I went to sleep that no matter what happened, I could sleep knowing that there had never been a little boy anywhere, anytime, who was loved more than she. She told me that as long as I remembered that I'd be okay. "And you knew it was the truth?" "Just as much as I know my name's Bud, not Buddy." She said, "Don't you have no other kin here in Flint?" "No." "I guess I can't blame you for wanting to ride the rails. My mama says these poor kids on the road all alone are like dust in the wind. But I guess you're different, aren't you, Bud? I guess you sort of carry your family around inside of you." "Huh, I guess I do. Inside my suitcase, too." She said, "So you've been staying in an orphanage since your mama died?" "What makes you say that?" "Well, you're kind of skinny, but I can tell by the way you talk and the way you act that you haven't been out on the road for very long." "I'm not all that young. I'm going to be 11 on November 14th, and I'm not skinny. I'm wiry. Some folks think I'm a hero." "So, Mr. Hero, we're the same age, but you have been staying in an orphanage." "I've been staying in a home. My daddy says being on the road ain't fit for a dog, much less a kid. How come you don't just go back to your orphanage?" She started up touching my hand too much again. Deza Malone seemed like she was all right, so I came clean with her. "Don't tell no one, but I lit out for a foster home, so I'm on the lam, and I wouldn't go back to the home even if I could. It's getting so there's too many kids in there." "So I'm in dodging the railroad police." "What do you mean? You don't think they just let people jump on the trains, do you?" "Well, I guess I hadn't thought about it." "See, I knew you were too nice to have been out on the road. You're going to have a bad surprise tomorrow morning." "That won't bother me too much." She said, "Oh yeah, I forgot you're a hero to some folks." When Deza smiled, a little dimple jumped in her brown cheek. I didn't answer. I just kept drying tin cans. We got to the last 4 or 5 tin can plates, and Deza said, "You ever kiss a girl at the orphanage?" Uh-oh. Are you kidding? No. Why, you afraid of girls? You must be kidding. She said, "Okay," and closed her eyes and mushed her lips up and leaned close to me. Dangy, if I didn't kiss her, she'd think I was scared of girls. If I did kiss her, she might blab or Bugs might see me and tell strangers about what happened. I looked down the creek to where Bugs and the other boy were still splashing in the water. It was dark enough that I didn't think they could see us too good. I scooched my lips up and mashed my face on Deza Malone's. We stuck like that for a hot second, but it felt like a long time. When I opened my eyes and pulled back, Deza kept her eyes closed and smiled. She looked down and stuck her hand in mine again, and this time I let her keep it there. She looked out at the creek and the woods on the other side and said, "Isn't this romantic?" I looked out to see what she was talking about. The only thing I could see was the moon, like a big egg yolk way up in the sky. You could hear the water and the sound of the mouth organ man playing a sad song back in Hooverville. I sneaked another peek at Deza's dimple. She said, "You hear that? That's Shenandoah he's playing. Isn't it pretty?" "I guess so." "Do you know the words?" "Uh-huh. Listen. It's been 7 long years since I've seen her. Way hey, you rollin' river, been 7 long years since last I've seen her. Way hey, I'm bound away, cross the wide Missouri." I said, "Yep, that's a sad song." I didn't think it was pretty at all. She squeezed my hand and said, "Isn't it? It's about an Indian man and woman who can't see each other for 7 years, but in all that time they still stay in love, no matter what happens. It reminds me of my mother and father." "Your dad's been gone for 7 years before?" She looked out over the creek like a big eggy moon had her hypnotized. I pulled my hand from hers and said, "Well, that's about it for the dishes." She smiled again. "But I'll never forget this night." I tell her, but I probably wouldn't forget it either. I practiced on the back of my hand before, but this was the first time I'd ever busted slob with a real box and walked down to Bugs and the other kid. We put their dishes on top of ours and headed back. Bugs said, "How come you're looking so strange, Bud? You look like you've been chunked in the head with a rock." Deza Malone laughed, and for a second I thought she was going to rat me out. I said, "I don't know. I guess that song is making me kind of sad." Bugs said, "Yeah, it is kind of sad." Right before we got into the cardboard jungle, we passed the white people with the coffin baby at their own little fire. I said to Deza, "How come they're off alone? They aren't allowed to sit around the big fire because that baby's making so much noise?" Deza said, "Uh-huh, they've been invited, but my daddy said you gotta feel sorry for them. All they're eating is dandelion green soup. They're broke, their clothes are falling off of them, their baby's sick, but when someone took them some food and blankets, the man said, 'Thank you very much, but we're white people, we ain't need a handout.'" When we got back to the main fire of Hooverville, we put the dishes in another box. Deza made us turn them all upside down, so if the rain got into them, they wouldn't rust. I went to the woman with my suitcase. It was in the same spot I'd left it, and the knots in the twine were the kind I tied. I said, "Thank you very much, ma'am." She said, "I told you not to worry." I went back to the big fire to sit with the mouth organ man. Said, "I suppose you boys are going out on that train tomorrow." I said, "The one for Chicago, sir?" He said, "That's the one." I said, "Yes, sir, we are." He said, "Well, you'd best get as much sleep as you can. It's supposed to be pulling out at 5:15, but you never know with these freights." We got in one of the shacks with some other boys. Bugs was snoring in 2 seconds, but I couldn't sleep. I opened my jackknife and put it under my blanket. I was thinking, Deza's mama was right. Somehow, who doesn't know who their family is? Someone who doesn't know who their family is like dust blown around in a storm. They don't really belong any one place. I started wondering if going to California was the right thing to do. I might not know who my family was, but I knew they were out there somewhere, and it seemed to make a whole lot more sense to think that they were somewhere around Flint instead of out west. I opened my suitcase to get my blanket. Even though I trusted the woman who guarded it for me, I checked to make sure everything was okay. I picked up the tobacco pouch that had my rocks in it and pulled the drawstring open. I shook the 5 smooth stones out and looked at them. They'd been in the drawer after the ambulance took Mama away, and I had them ever since.